So this week I am in Iława. It is home to Poland's longest lake, and we also took in Szymbark Castle, which is just a short hike from here. So we're exploring the city, seeing what there is to see. As you can see, it's very wet and a nice part of Poland. It's in the Mazury voivodeship, well, Mazury Warmia, and yeah, beautiful place, so come and join me. Dzień dobry and welcome to A Brit in Poland. This channel is going to bring you everything you need to know about Poland. I am exploring the country, bringing you the history, trying to tell you about the culture and show you what it is really like to live here. So feel free to check out my other media, Instagram, Facebook, and I will share links to those in the comments. I also have a website, www.britlivinginpoland.com, where I collate my videos for easy to view manner. Also, you are welcome to contribute to my efforts through Patronite or Patreon, and all descriptions are available below the video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and please come back for more by subscribing, liking, or commenting. Thank you very much. Do zobaczenia. So Iława is known as the Pearl of Warmia and Mazury, or Mazury. It has a population of about 36,000, and as you can see from this map, we got to see quite a few of them by walking around an awful lot. We start at the train station, and this was once the largest and most beautiful train station in the whole of East Prussia, with up to 8 trips to Berlin every day. These days, it's still a pretty nice station, and you can see they've created this really nice multicolored fountain and put a few monuments and a nice little peaceful area for people who enjoy sitting in front of train stations, and I'm sure there are a few. You have this monument, which is a 199 steam engine, which was on active duty until 1987, and is only one of 34 remaining. So we're going to start by just taking a walk through, let's say, the suburbs of Iława before we get to the main centre. You see a cool hospital with what looks like a helipad. What I'm guessing is a tribute to the Flintstones even. And a cute blue roof and Winnie the Pooh. But actually, let's talk a little bit more about Iława. So it was founded in 1305 by Teutonic commander Siegfried. I don't think you want to mess with him. It was surrounded by defensive walls with a moat added in the 15th century. There were originally only 2 gates to enter the city, in the east and the west. And like a lot of this region, it moved between Teutonic and Prussian control, being a fief of Poland for some time. And we'll take a break in the history as we're getting to some places. So this is Kappa Tavern, and this was built in 1945. It used to be a stable and a carriage building, now a tavern, and it's actually one of the best preserved monuments in Iława. We didn't drink here, sadly, we didn't have time, but it looked pretty nice. The main feature, you can say, is Lake Jeziorek, which is the longest lake in Poland. And we're going to actually take a bit of a boat ride around the lake. The boat ride lasts about 45 minutes to an hour. I think it was relatively cheap, about 25 zloty or something like that. You can't really book in advance because, you can, but you have to rent the whole boat for about 500. So you have to basically show up. I think it runs, there's a schedule on a website for it, but every couple of hours or so. It's definitely a worthwhile thing. So you get to go a considerable distance around the lake. Pretty much you are going around the island of Wielka Iława, which is the largest inland island in Poland. But a few facts about the lake. Well, it's 27.5 kilometers long, so pretty darn long for a lake. It's actually only the sixth largest in Poland, with it being about 32,000 hectares. The deepest point is 12 meters, and the widest part is 2 kilometers. And actually, there are 16 islands. And it's rich in different varieties of animal life. And it's actually connected with the Elbe Canal. And the island, well, it used to be an old Prussian stronghold. This is the town hall, which is a Baroque town hall built in 1910 to 12 under the initiative of Mayor Karl Friedrich Giesser. But it had a major renovation in 1995 as it was quite badly damaged. Next, we are going to go to the oldest building in the city, which is the Church of the Transfiguration of the Lord. And this fine structure actually dates back to 1317 to 25. As you've guessed, it was probably, well, no, it certainly was damaged and rebuilt a few times over the years. I think there was a tower added in the 15th century, but it serves to be a pretty impressive church. It actually used to be part of the city walls back in the day, and it has the oldest oak tree of the Iława territory, which was planted in 1871. And you have a number of kind of, let's say, small but nice squares in the city. So they've really gone for a quite tranquil feel, a quite relaxing feel. You know, there are a number of fountains, there are a number of places to sit. You can see it has a definite boat theme, this fountain. And you have a number of rather nice buildings. This, I think, is the stadium. So one thing that Iława is known for is it's called the summer capital of traditional jazz, due to the oldest festival of this genre of music in Europe, the old jazz meeting Złota Tarka. In the center, you have a nice little park with these statues, which are of, Greek deities, so Jupiter, Junon, Medusa, and Hercules, which were actually a gift to the city in 1976. And you have this rather quirky statue, which looks a little bit like a child's project, but not meaning to insult it. It's a certainly unique one, which I quite enjoyed staring at for a while. And I quite like the multiple fountains. So in the center, you have a few bars, places to have a bit of food to eat, a bit of beer to drink. We had some nice cocktails as well. And next door, you could buy ice cream. So definitely a must visit. We're going to take a little bit of a walk through the city now. See a few little, here's another little fountain square. But also we're going to pass, this is the Copernicus School, known something like Red something, but yeah, it's quite a classic building. We're going to pass a number of very interesting kind of tenement houses or small palaces, which have some historical significance, and they're just nice to look at as you're walking through the city. And yeah, beautiful. Let's talk a little bit more about the history before we get to our next site. So yes, it ultimately moved to Prussian control in 1466 after the Second Peace of Torun. In 1706, a great fire damaged the city, leaving only brick structures. This is Mill Island, because there used to be a water mill in this city, and now they've made it as a very tranquil kind of beauty spot. You have the nice fountain there. It's meant to be connected with kayaking somehow. There is a kind of like canal that runs by it, and I think the people I went with, this was one of their favourite areas. It was like a very well kept, very tidy, very nice place. And as you may recognise from the introduction, there is this small lake connected to it. So very relaxing. And yes, certainly the theme of this city is water. You have so many canals, lakes, fountains. You know, if you come out of this city dry by the end of your trip, I would be very surprised. Just kind of kidding. But it has a wonderful fusion of nature and kind of living spaces here. So this is another kind of like scenic spot that they've set up. Maybe not too much to look at, but it's, you know, very calming, very relaxing. And it's I really like these places that have this connection with nature. We're going to kind of walk along one of the canals, and so let me try and finish the history before we hit our next site. So, yes, it was heavily damaged by the Swedish and Napoleonic forces, but it actually had rapid development in the 18th and 19th century after the opening of the railway and the Elbe Canal. After World War I, a plebiscite was held, and only 5% of the population voted for Iława to belong to Poland, the rest saying Germany. And actually it survived the war rather well until 1945, when the Soviet troops came in. Now this is a Greek Orthodox rather than Russian Orthodox church, which actually dates back to 1899, and it used to be a municipal gas plant, and now is just a very interesting building with a nice garden. But back to the history. So yes, in 1945 it was heavily damaged by the Soviet troops who were taking the town from the Nazis. And so you can see it's recovered since then, with a lot of money, I presume, being pumped in to rejuvenate the city. It's now, you could say, like a major staple of like the Polish tourist industry. And it's one of these green zones with, you know, very pure air, and it's a very, healthy place to visit. And there are a lot of sports and recreational activities associated here with quite a few different options, which we'll talk about. This place is just very random. I just saw it on Google. And it's like a kind of a gallery of oddities. We didn't quite get to go inside, but even just looking outside, we were, you know, rather amused by, you know, the different creations or different kind of like examples from history here, little bit of culture. It was just like such a random thing. I had to go here and just have a look for myself, and it was pretty cool. But we couldn't go inside because the owners were outside taking a break. Everyone needs a break sometimes, I guess. Okay, so we're going to continue going through the city. But as I was saying, there's a lot of like sailing that goes here. There are a number of sports stadiums, music concerts. So it is very much based around recreation. You can see on the waterway there, we have a number of boats. A lot of people will kayak, will row. There are all kinds of water options here. And this was a little random square across one of the bridges, which had a nice little garden, but it also had this monument. And I can't for the life of me, and perhaps somebody can tell me in the comments what the monument was related to. We're just getting to it in a second. Yeah, so it was this cool statue and then these kind of blocks. I'm sure it had some kind of significance, but I cannot remember. Normally these things are a war memorial, but I don't think so in this case. So we're heading to the outskirts of the city now. And one random fact about this video is it's pretty much shot backwards. Because actually we started the trip in Iława here at Taverna pod Omegon. And this is actually one of the oldest, if not the oldest, tavern in the city. And it's also connected with the sailing industry. So I think you can do some boat rentals or something through this place. I'm not sure. But we went here for a spot of lunch, a couple of beers in the heat, which is always nice. And it was beautifully decorated on the interior. And the staff were very friendly as well. So actually, we're going to leave Iława now. And we're going to take a bit of a trek. This is some kind of random quarry I remember seeing as we were entering the city. But yeah, you see the Iława sign right there. And we're going to walk along another lake. I can't remember the name of this lake off the top of my head. It was kind of a smaller one. But it was something like roughly a 2-hour walk, you could say. We passed this very fancy house, which had peacocks at the front, which was, you can say, very elaborate. Here's that lake, which you don't really get to see much on the walk, but you do get to see this. These wonderful fields full of poppies and these purple flowers, which are not lavender, sadly, but still very tranquil. Like, I've not really seen sights like this in Poland before, but it was a really cool trek, you know, besides the giant mosquitoes we were fending off on the way. It was quite adventurous, passing through these kind of cornfields or whatever. And then we finally get to the end of the lake and Szymbark Castle. So this structure is actually pretty massive. It's often compared to Malbork Castle. It dates back to the 14th century. And between 1699 and 1945, it was owned by the Fink von Finkenstein dynasty. Sounds like one of those made-up characters you see as a villain in a James Bond film or something. And actually there was a movie shot here called The Ogre, which starred John Malkovich. So it's a pretty impressive place. But sadly, despite it looking so awesome and having these really cool towers, you cannot enter the interior. It's under some kind of renovation, I guess. So it's not really set up for tourists, but it was still fun nonetheless to walk around. And it's part of the Green Trail, which I think is the like Napoleonic Trail, because Napoleon kind of stayed in this town, which is at the end of the trail. But yeah, pretty cool random castle in sort of the middle of nowhere, because the town of Szymbark is very small. I mean, we didn't perhaps get to the center of it, but this is what we saw. There was some goats, which are always nice, and other random creatures. I'm not sure if they were real or not, I can't remember. But there was this weird kind of garden with a wooden snail and various little structures. It was something a little bit unique, you can say. But we're nearing the end of the video now, and I really hope you enjoyed my trip to Iława. Maybe I didn't quite see everything, because certainly there's a lot to do around the lake, and it's quite a large lake to explore. But certainly it's a place I would consider coming back to for a longer stay. I just did it in a day, but I'm glad I did. But thank you for watching. As always, please like, please subscribe, and feel free to donate to my Patreon if you want me to continue exploring Poland. So thank you very much. Do zobaczenia.